fighter.
Cleveland, this is for you.
And we are locked in the studio. Myself, Max Van Auken, and Dave the Wave. Another day, another dollar.
It was actually around a lot of dollars today, but I don't want to brag. It's the humble brag. Cuzzo, I love the studio. Gosh.
I know, it's starting to come together. It's starting to look nice. We haven't released a picture or a video yet. People are begging to see it, but we're not doing it yet.
I know. I got a couple other pictures framed up today because, you can't show it 60%.
No.
It's going to be how the young kids call it, 100.
It's going to be like Avengers Infinity Wars. You knew you wanted to see the end game, but you had to wait. They knew we were getting a studio, so that was Avengers Infinity Wars. When they see the studio, that's Endgame.
Yeah, when they see the studio, it is Endgame for every other podcast in the world because we're coming at you.
We're 100%. We're going for throats.
We're coming for throats. Cuzzo, can I have a little story?
Let's get storytelling.
Story time with Uncle Dave. All right. Back to the humble brag. I've been to a Super Bowl, 2 World Series, actually Game 4, Subway Series, Shea Stadium. The Yankees won. Carried Joe Torre off the field. I was there. Been to a Daytona 500. Been to an NBA Finals game with Kobe Bryant. I've been WrestleMania, UFC events. I've been to a lot of sport events because I love that. That's my thing. I loved it since I was 5. I'm 34 years old. Still love it to this day. And I'm a moment guy. LeBron and Conor McGregor, Brock Lesnar. I don't like guys that are undefeated. That's why maybe I'm not a Jordan guy. That's maybe why I'm not even a Khabib guy. He's 26-0. I know how great he is of a fighter. He's undefeated. I get it. I'm a moment guy. When GSP got down on his knees, Dana, give me the match. That was a moment. That's what I like.
27-0.
So, a top 5 favorite, best sport moment happened to us. And happened to me. It's in my top 5 moments ever this past weekend. We're at the Orlando Live Event Center. The moment I'm talking about is Combat Night. Mitchell Chamali, shout out to him. Our guy, Chris Mixon. The welterweight champion for Combat Night, 4-0, fought a hell of a fighter, and I'm sorry, no disrespect. His name is just not off the top of my head. Great fighter. Looked great. I have respect after the fight as well. The fight was like a minute 10, minute 15 seconds. The other fighter, called a spade, rocked Chris. Definitely threw hands to him, definitely connected. Chris was definitely a little wobbly. First time, he was getting hit. Chris Mixon out of nowhere. Superman, freaking Aquaman, Captain America wrapped into one. His heart, his soul, he took a deep breath. The Professor John Radford, I was like, I saw Chris take a deep breath for a second and then just boom. Shot, knee, shot, and then he had that Mark Hunt walk-off knockout. It was an uppercut that connected. Boom, the guy goes down. He retains his title, retains the championship. And I just remember our family, Max, me, you, there's Pete there was Mike Davis, there was Anderson Hutchison, Coach John, jumping on each other, screaming. I lost my voice. I don't know if you guys can hear it. It's still 3-4 days after the event. My voice is still a little rasp. It was one of the greatest sport moments of my life. It was just incredible, Max.
Yeah, and I talked to Chris after, and I talked to John, and that by far is his most impressive win. And I told Chris, and I'm like, yeah, he's like a brother to me, so of course I'm biased. But I said that was your best win you've had in your career. And yeah, you're undefeated. Yeah, you've run through people where you don't even get hit. But the fact that you did get rocked and you fought somebody that wasn't scared of you and he was swinging for the fences and we're there watching it. And I'm like, oh my God, he rocked Chris. And then like you said, Chris, I'm telling you, he is so similar to Conor McGregor, not outside of the octagon by any means. He's so humble and he's like introverted, very quiet. Conor's, of course, very outgoing and trash talking.
Wait, Conor's outgoing?
But Chris, inside the octagon, to his stance, to his composure, to his aggressiveness, to his accuracy, to his movements, everything, I swear. And John even said when he walked into the gym, he was mimicking Conor McGregor. And you saw it again when he fought Chad Mendes. I'm going to plan on doing this. So here you go, guys. I'm going to take a clip of Chris Mixon's fight and a clip of the fight I'm talking about with Conor McGregor against Chad Mendes.
Nice.
And when he got hit by Chad Mendes, he took a breath. Yeah. And okay, you gave me your best shots. Now it's my turn. And Chris literally walked him down.
Yeah.
But what he did was obviously different from that point on. He ragdolled him like Anderson Silva did to Rich Franklin. He's kneeing him. And I'm like you said, all respect to the opponent because he fought a hell of a fight.
Hell of a fighter. Bright future for him. Bright future.
That for Chris to overcome that, and it's okay, he overcame it, and then he finished the guy in the later rounds. No, in the same round. So he switched it around from at the absolute worst to your absolute best.
Seconds.
Yeah, that's all it took. And Chris recovered, and he kneed him. And then afterwards is what I love. He got on top of the octagon screaming. Everybody's going crazy. So, yeah, congratulations to Mitchell Chamali, to Clash of the Titans 3. We called Undisputed. It was such a great event.
It was. Before we get into the NFL, a couple big topics. A couple big things about us, Max. We got a huge month. Next weekend, the Florida MMA Awards show is there. We will be there live. We're going down to South Florida. We're definitely going to talk to everyone. The Locked In Sports Podcast is up for Best MMA Podcast of the Year.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys. We'll do a lot of lives. We'll do a lot of videos,
What's crazy about that is we're not even an MMA podcast necessarily. Of course we cover MMA. Of course we talk to MMA fighters. We have Stephen Mowry coming on to the show today, calling into the studio.
Minutes, he's about to call in.
And it's so we have all these MMA fighters, all these boxers, and we are commentating, but we do go to the Magic games. We are talking to college basketball guys, high school guys.
We're about to talk Joe Flacco, Max.
NBA guys, yeah. We talk NFL, so for us to be nominated for just an MMA podcast is an absolute honor.
Yeah, totally agree. Like we said, we got Bellator fighter Stephen Mowry about to call in. A couple more things we're doing. We're going down south. We got a big, ATT, American Top Team, probably one of the best gyms in the world, on fire. Just building champions daily there. We're going down there.
I'm going to look Amanda in the eye and say, I told you 2 years ago you were going to beat her. That's my first line. I'm not even going to introduce myself.
It's funny. So you're going to do that. My first thing is I'm going to look down to Colby Covington and say, hey, you ain't got nothing, champ.
I won't be in there. I'll be on his side.
No, he's a stud. I love Colby. Then a couple days later, we got Island Fights 53, Destin, Florida. Max, we're taking the drive. We're going the Panhandle, I-10 West. We're doing it. A lot of mega fights on there. We'll talk about that coming up in the upcoming weeks. And then
we should get a travel van.
Oh my gosh!
Have you ever seen Hangover 1?
19 times.
And when at the end, when they're running late and they're going to the wedding and they're changing suits and the guys pull up next to them, and we should have that with a podcast so then people jump in the van with us and do podcasts.
And undress with us?
No, that.
Okay.
So we get a driver and he's our designated driver.
Okay.
We don't have to pay him. He's just he's just locked in.
Sure.
So
it's a gift to be locked in.
Exactly. You get to hear the conversations we have. And then we just get random people, since they all have downloaded to the episode on any podcast platform.
Sure.
They'll be listening to us while we live stream it, so they know where to catch us, where we are on I-95. And they pull up right next to us, and they get locked in.
Probably the second or third best idea you've ever had in your life. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But keep on the momentum, guys. March 16th, Duval, Jacksonville, Florida, Combat Night, I believe, 103. Kind of big news. The event is officially locked in. Max and I will be doing announcing, commentating, talking to people, interviewing, Facebook Live, Instagram Live, giving back massages. We're going to be doing it all, Max.
Let's not sugarcoat it. This will be the greatest act you've ever seen.
Yes,
you're going to be Bruce Buffer and Goldberg. I'll be Joe Rogan, all into two.
Yeah, it's like the three greatest UFC people of all time making $8.6 million. Max and I are going to do it on a Saturday night. March 16th, guys, get your tickets. It's going to sell out. It's one of the best.
Yeah.
Mitchell he's like, guys, this is it. Like, this might be the card of the year, and he hates saying it so early. It's almost like UFC 235. It could be the card of the year.
Yeah.
Bone Smith, Askren Lawler, the Usman versus Woodley. It's awesome. It's stacked. Oh, my gosh. So that's that. All that. Okay, we got Steven about to call in. There's a couple NFL topics I do want to hit. You ready? I'll throw a couple out. You jump back and forth?
Of course.
Okay, here we go. Today, guys, Joe Flacco. Super Bowl MVP, Baltimore Ravens. They drafted Lamar Jackson. They probably didn't want, the controversy of the quarterback, so they traded him to the Denver Broncos. And I heard it just kind of broke just a couple minutes ago for a 4th-round pick. To me, that's a steal for Denver, and I'm not even a Flacco guy, but just to get, he's a solid veteran. He's still got the deep ball. He's probably better than Case Keenum. It's probably pretty close. But for a 4th-round pick, I love the deal. I think it's a great deal for Denver. And
what do they see? Flacco's lived up to those big moments, though. So it's like, yeah, he probably is better than Keenum, but I'll take probably, especially when you have the experience and the resume. Like, he's been at the highest stage the NFL has to offer.
Yeah.
He's experienced. He's seen everything.
Great.
Yeah. So I think it's a win for both sides, especially at Baltimore, too, because, yeah, you lost Joe Flacco, but like you said, for a young guy, Lamar Jackson, to know it's his locker room, and there's no question about it, that certainly helps him going forward and elevating his game. It helps clarity. It's more clarity for the locker room. But I do have a question. So it is a steal, right, for a 4th-rounder we all agree.
Oh, yeah. I think it's a great trade for Denver.
The quarterback's the most important position in all of sports, right? They lead your team, and other positions are dependent on that position. Why is it you don't see that in the NBA, right? You don't see a star, and of course I know there's like the nuances with the financial stuff and the contracts, but just the fact that you don't see a 4th-round pick getting traded for an all-star in the NBA. Like, how is it that teams are, like, it's just more doable in the NFL? Like, that's crazy to me.
For one, draft picks are more valuable in NFL.
Yeah.
Like, a late 1st-round pick is a really great pick.
Yeah.
Because the 1st round is just stacked. There's not just, in the NBA, there's 4 or 5 players. It's kind of done. NFL, there's 30, legit 1st-round picks. A 1st-round pick is very, very valuable.
Because they play more years in college, too. They're more developed.
Yeah, there's just more spots. Like, you need a center, and then you need a left guard, and then a wide receiver. So the best wide receiver in college might be the 18th pick just because of quarterbacks and defenders and all that stuff. So it's a very valuable spot. But also, you'd be surprised it does happen more often than you think. Just youth, the teams that want to get youth usually get a lot. That's what Boston did. They just got a lot of draft picks. They traded Pierce and Garnett to Brooklyn for just old max contracts, bad contracts, no good players. The best guy in that trade was like Keith Bogans, but they got those 3-4 picks that became Tatum and Jaylen Brown and all this stuff. Yeah. So it does happen, but football, it happens yearly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Basketball happens like every 3 years. Kyrie just got traded, but it was for Isaiah Thomas.
Exactly.
Kawhi Leonard, you're absolutely right, just got traded, but it was for DeMar DeRozan. Anthony Davis was maybe going to get traded, but it's Ingram and Kuzma.
Assets.
Yeah. So it is very true. It's just easier to make that trade in football because the picks are just that much more valuable.
Guys, we have Stephen Mowry calling in here shortly. We're just talking some NFL. We got some NBA to jump into, so make sure you stay tuned. This podcast, any podcast platform, download and subscribe. Locked in with 2 N's. That's Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify. You name it, we are on it. Dave.
Yes, sir.
So do you have any more takes about the Keenum Flacco?
No, I feel good. I think it's a battle. I think Denver has a couple other holes. So don't draft a quarterback this year. Draft around it. Hopefully Flacco or Keenum can get you there. And then the year after, draft your 1st-round quarterback.
And I know we'll talk about this with Steven because he's a Steelers guy. But let's dive into that with Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he wants to get traded. I want to take just a different avenue because I think it does work out for both. Like, I think if he gets traded, it works out for the Steelers. Believe it or not, I know everybody wants to go crazy that you lost Le'Veon Bell and now Antonio Brown. And, of course, for Antonio Brown's happiness. But this is why I don't think it works for him on the field. You're not going to get in a better position. You have a Hall of Fame quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Who is known for throwing the deep ball. And he gets a lot of targets. And he complained about targets, but he gets a lot of targets. Big Ben does throw to Antonio Brown.
Absolutely.
Then you have a lot of weapons, Juju Smith-Schuster. Then you have a good running back. So you have a lot of assets. So you're not just the primary focus where they double team you. Then on top of that, you have an organization that has a rich history of success. So you know it's not like a chaotic franchise. I know it's been kind of chaotic, but as far as the history, it's not the Browns.
Yeah, it's a great franchise. They've had 3 coaches max in the last 47 years. It's amazing.
It's absolutely amazing. And my point, and they draft wide receivers really well. So you could imagine they draft another one where you don't have to worry about being the primary focus for every defense. But going forward, this is what I'm saying. Because Odell was on the market, now Antonio Brown's on the market, a diva wide receiver worth a lot of money typically doesn't have as high a value anymore. I don't think he's still a tremendous player, and I'm not saying he's going to age overnight and fall off, but I don't know if he has the same level of success elsewhere than he does in Pittsburgh.
Oh, 100% agree.
And I think that's like almost a bold take with everybody else, but for you and I, you seem to be on the same page. I don't think he does.
The NFL team that knows him the most is the Steelers.
Yeah.
The coaches, the quarterbacks. For one, he knows the playbook. He knows Ben Roethlisberger. Sometimes they look at each other. Like me and you were podcasting, I look at you, you're like, oh, Dave's got something to say for 2 minutes. Like, it's a look, it's a
don't tell them our secrets. Come on now.
Good call. And just the Pittsburgh style of throwing the ball and throwing at Antonio Brown, it's not going to work. I kind of have a dark horse team where I think he's going to go. You ready for this one?
Yeah.
Okay. There's been a couple out there, and I haven't heard this one attached to Antonio Brown. I've heard big things. Niners, right? I've heard, even Cleveland. I heard even New England.
Le'Veon, there's like more rumors. Like Le'Veon Bell, it's like, it may be Jets. It may be, you know what I mean? It may be the Ravens.
Colts.
It may be the Colts. Yeah, but Antonio Brown, all right, go ahead.
My dark horse team, the Washington Redskins. One, they don't have a number one wide receiver. Two, they have tons of money. Three, they're in the NFC. So the Steelers would trade him to the NFC and not have to play him once or twice a year.
At a conference, right.
And just where they're at the draft, they don't have like a top 5 pick, but they have a nice pick. I think it's like 13 to 14. So it's like a first and third rounder for him. And I think Washington would be crazy because you can argue the best wide receiver in the world,
right? And
they have the cap space. I just think it works. I really do. It's a dark horse pick. Washington Redskins.
That sounds like a locked-in pick. Now, of course, we'll see if the trade offers can work, but that's a good pick. That's a good pick. It's kind of like I can't be like, no, I don't see that happening. I mean, who knows?
Cool. All right, cool. Anything else on Antonio Brown? I know, Steven, he's a Steeler fan.
Yeah, we're going to have to get on him a little bit.
All right, it comes up. Last one, Max. I put out a little video. Put it on YouTube. You got to check it out. The Locked In YouTube page, guys. Subscribe to that. It's new content daily on it. It's great. Kyler Murray, the Oklahoma Heisman Trophy quarterback, was drafted in the first round last year by the Oakland A's. He was going to play baseball. That was pretty locked in. He had a great year. I think a better year than what he even thought. And just with Heisman quarterbacks and how the league and how Lamar Jackson was, a real positive asset for Baltimore, Kyler Murray says, I'm entering the NFL draft, and I am an NFL quarterback. Baseball is done.
It's a smart move on his point because I think it's better for him on and off. For an athlete, especially now, like you start to see a lot more athletes have more self-awareness as far as their business ventures, like post-career-wise. Like people are getting into a lot of things. Like LeBron makes more money, and I know LeBron's like the absolute exception. I'm just using him for example. He's making more money off the court than he does on the court, and he's taking the max on the court. So that shows you he has $1 billion deal with Nike, all of his shows. So this is smart for him because he's going to make way more money this way. And secondly, you can't go from the Heisman winner to just going on a team, and it's like, he kind of fades off. So it's like now I think he gets the spotlight. But the one thing I will say, and I'm not being critical, I'm just playing devil's advocate, I think we have a tendency of comparing people to Russell Wilson and Drew Brees when you're undersized, and I don't think that's right. I mean, I'm not saying he won't succeed, because he may, but when you generally compare outliers, you're setting yourself up for failure. There's a reason why they're outliers. They're not the norm. Baker Mayfield's extremely accurate. We weren't that high on him to begin the season.
Agree.
And I'm not saying Murray won't do well in the NFL, but the odds are stacked against him. At what point do you say, okay, he is too small. He doesn't have the most accurate football compared to Drew Brees and Russell Wilson, who are Hall of Famers. It's the right move for him career-wise, but I'm not saying he's going to excel to the fullest like others.
Okay. For one, I have off script. I just got a funny game I'm going to do with you right now. I just popped in my head. But just real quick, my Kyler Murray take. I like him. I really do. I just think the NFL has changed to college.
It's true. That's true.
Wide open. I think he's a better prospect than Lamar Jackson. And Lamar was really good this year. They went 7-1 to close out the year.
Yeah.
I know they didn't win the playoff game, but they played against the Chargers, which was a great team.
I will say this, though. That was before tape on him.
Sure. I think Murray throws the ball better than Lamar.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
And I think he's going to work. I didn't think so 3, 4, 5 years ago. Nowadays, I do. All right, real quick. Here's the off-script thing, and I'm not trying to. I swear we didn't do this. I'm not setting Max up, and I hope he kind of proves me wrong. But I'm trying to prove a point and go with exactly what we're saying about it. It was a brilliant move to be an NFL quarterback. Max, who is the NFL quarterback for the Houston Texans?
My guy.
Your guy?
Watson.
Deshaun Watson.
I love him.
Yeah. He's been in the league 2 years. They made the playoffs. One of those two.
Yeah, they had a pretty good run this year.
Yeah, pretty good team, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Houston Astros won the World Series 2 years ago. Great baseball team. They had over 100 wins this year. Great team.
Right.
Name me one player off the team.
I'm not a baseball guy. That's not me.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm not trying to throw you underneath the bus at all.
Sure. Yeah,
that's what Kyler Murray did. Dude, we talk sports for a living.
Yeah.
And you're great at it. You're unbelievable. And your takes are on point all the time. And you look into the future, you are locked in. That's why we do this show.
It's a great point.
He's not baseball. If you're not Aaron Judge, if you're not New York Yankees
you don't
stud,
get the recognition.
Bryce Harper, great looking hair, big monster swing. He's a star. If you're Mike Trout, won 2, 3 MVPs. If you walk through the Volusia Mall, we had no idea who he was.
That's a good point.
Every NFL quarterback is humongous.
Just came from the Volusia Mall, by the way. Do not go there. Do not go there. Do not go there. Not only will you not find him there, you won't find anybody there. I thought it was closed. Olivia and I went. It's a great point. I'm not trying to take it away, but
thank you.
I went and I'm like, is this closed? We actually Googled what time it closes, and I'm like, no, it's actually open. I'm like, oh, I do see someone who works here, but I don't see any customers. It's absolutely ridiculous. You talked about going to Daytona 500, and it's like you would think the mall right across a main attraction. If you guys have never been to Daytona Beach, it's literally the Daytona 500.
Yes.
And then right across from it is the Volusia Mall.
Yes.
So you would think, hey, this is a great opportunity for great business. Let's create a good mall for all these customers coming in. No. No.
Oh, my gosh. Guys, probably the top 3 best episodes in Locked In history. We're talking Avengers. We're talking Combat Night. We're talking Volusia Mall. But Stephen Mowry is about to call in, Max. So let's just pause this talk, and let's talk to Steve, and let's get locked in.
Bellator Heavyweight contender Stephen Mowry is getting locked in again. How are you doing, my man?
I'm well. How are you guys?
We're locked in the studio right now. We can't wait for you to come live in the studio. That's what we're waiting for.
When does the studio go live?
No, we got our place here in Daytona Beach, Florida. We finally got our own shindig, and we're setting up. We're nice. We'll love to have you in. You're a little tall, so you got to duck underneath the door, but we'll make it work.
Yeah, I'll make the trek up there sometime for sure.
Hell yeah, brother.
That would be awesome. But let's talk about you. So you have a fight coming up. Tell us about that. How's training camp going? How are you looking forward to this fight?
Training camp was good, man. I had a lot of really good partners. We had a lot of people come in that just so happened to be the style of opponent I'm fighting now. So it all worked out really well. I worked really hard. Everything came together really well, especially towards the last couple of weeks. So, I'm really happy with how it went.
Hey, Steve, this is Dave. Got a question for you. Does it piss you off that you're on the prelims?
Not really, to be honest with you.
Okay. I thought about that. I looked at the card. And, Mitch Arone deserves the main event spot. Had a hell of a run, 4 straight wins. Lost to Bader, who went to win the Grand Prix. And I looked, and there's some good fights on the card. I love it. Both this weekend. You got MVP and Daly on Saturday, you guys on Friday. And I looked, I saw you on the prelims. I'm like, guys, this is a superstar phenom, undefeated heavyweight in his prime. And Bellator's got him on the prelims. I thought that was a mistake. That's just my point of view. I just didn't know if you thought that at all.
No, I appreciate that, but I don't know, man. I'm just here to fight at the end of the day. If it's the first fight, the last fight, if it's, whatever. If we do it in the parking lot, if we do it in Canada, I want to fight some.
Hell yeah. All right.
Especially with young fighters such as yourself, I think progression is one of the most important things. Like you see Zabit for the UFC, his progression every single fight. There's just so many people like that. For yourself, do you see the progression every day you're training, every fight? Do you see that level of progression in your own game?
Yeah, day to day, you don't really see it as much, but, you go and look at situations that happen in camp and, how they happen in fights, and it's just really interesting to see how, in one camp you might have a situation that you didn't handle really well, but then, 3 months later, 6 months later, you look at it and you're like, wow, I really feel like I got a handle on the situation now.
Right. I have one thing I've kind of noticed. So Dave and I were at Combat Night, Pete White Boxing MMA. We're watching our guy Chris Mixon compete, and he's just tearing through all these fighters, right? And he got rocked in the beginning of his fight, and he kept his composure and still finished the guy in the first round. And to me, that was his most significant win of his career because it's the first time he was tested and he overcame adversity. For you as a fighter, do you find that as, obviously you don't want to have to get rocked, but for you in a fight, does that mean more to you to overcome adversity, or you just want the quick knockout every time?
I mean, the quick knockout every time would be ideal. That's the fight game. You wouldn't, if you knew you were just going to go out and knock somebody out every time you fought, you probably wouldn't train hard, you wouldn't diet, you wouldn't do anything. So, I guess that's what makes it exciting is the challenge, is knowing that you're going to have fights where you're going to get tested. You're going to have fights where you're going to find out what you're made of. And, we've all been there, like we've all taken hard shots in a fight. We've all had situations where we're down, we're almost out, but, it almost feels better, coming back from a little bit of adversity, being tested a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Talking about a quick knockout, how about Ryan Bader knocking out Fedor to win the heavyweight Grand Prix? He's the champ. What was your thoughts on Ryan Bader and even just the whole Grand Prix tournament?
I mean, good on Ryan Bader. That's all I really could say about it.
Yeah.
I can't believe he just went in there and, not to take anything away from Ryan Bader, but it was, it was an interesting shot. Like it didn't really look like it was something that would have really hurt somebody, but dang it, he knocked out Fedor, and then he looked incredible this whole run. So, good on him. This whole tournament, I don't know, you have to think his combined fights outside of the Mitrione fight, he was probably in the cage for 2.5 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, quick work.
And then, Mitrione's my boy, but Bader looked great. So,
is that something you're looking forward to when that comes back around, another heavyweight Grand Prix, and this time Stephen Mowry will be in the tournament looking to get the belt from Ryan Bader? Is that something you're looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to February 15th, and that's about all I have to say about it.
That's a great answer right
I don't know.
there.
It'd be cool to see where that goes, but, right now I'm just focused on what's right in front of me.
Right.
Totally understand. Hey, Steven, I got a serious question for you. Antonio Brown, what's up? He's your guy. The last time you're on the show, you talked about him. He wants out of Pittsburgh. I know you're a diehard Steeler fan. Steven, what's going on, man?
He's killing us, man. Pittsburgh's not really happy with Antonio Brown right now, that's for sure.
Gosh, I feel bad. It's one of those things, Steve, I'm telling you. They're going to be better next year. It's one of get him out of the locker room. You got Juju Smith-Schuster, who's a stud, and get Le'Veon out, get Antonio Brown out. Just go back to the basics. I think the Steelers will be a really sneaky 11-5, 12-4 team next year.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, I hate to play devil's advocate a little bit, especially against my Bergites or Bergians or whatever you want to call them. But I can't really. You can't really put it all. You can put a lot of it on the players, but you can't. Pittsburgh isn't historically good to their athletes all the time, and that's
very true.
We have Terry Bradshaw. I don't think Terry Bradshaw, if you hadn't already known that he was a Steeler just from the jerseys, you probably wouldn't have known that. He made his name being a Steelers quarterback.
Right.
And I hate to say it, but nothing's changed. So, we as fans are allowed to be a little bit disappointed in them, but at the same time, we do have to take a good hard look at ourselves as a team. That coming from the top too, not just the players, but Tomlin. They have to go all the way up to the Rooneys, and they really have to figure their shit out.
Right.
But I don't know. I would not be the first to say that. I don't know shit about football talk. I didn't play it down in high school. I probably played a combined total of an hour backyard football my whole life. It just wasn't for me, And I'm like the rest of Pittsburgh fans. Whenever I talk a lot of smack, but I don't actually know about the game. So,
Steven,
I'm the only Pittsburgh person to admit that.
You could say whatever you want. Nobody could beat you up. You're right no matter what you say. But I have to ask, is there anything in particular you're looking forward to your next fight? Can we expect a knockout? Can we expect a finish, a submission, like a dirty, gritty victory? People are going to be listening to this, and I'm sure someone who doesn't necessarily maybe heard of you, they're going to listen to this, and they're going to love you. So what can they expect come your next fight?
They can expect Steve Mowry to go and get the job done.
I love it. Clock in, clock out, do your job.
Yeah, that's always how it goes.
I love that.
That's that Stipe mentality. I love that.
I don't do predictions. I don't do outcomes. I don't do
prophecies. I just show up and work. That's awesome.
talking about Stipe, that's funny you said that, Max. Steven, I would love your, just your take. I was thinking about the UFC champions, guys like DC. Is he fighting Stipe next or Brock Lesnar? Khabib's a champion. He's kind of been suspended. Don't know what's going on with that. Colby Covington was the interim champion. He's not fighting. How about Robert Whittaker? What's your take on like the UFC big time champions and it's just like chaos around the title? It used to be GSP was the champion and every 4 months he clocked in and fought somebody. Nowadays it's like the champion, fights once a year. There's just always chaos around it. I would love your take.
I mean, I remember when there was absolute uproar that Jose Aldo only fought once or twice a year.
Yep.
And there's not really a clear road to the title one way or the other. So, shouts to my boy, Kamaru Usman. He deserves a shot. I don't care.
Hell yeah.
And that's all I have to say about the 170 title picture.
Big time.
But, as for the heavyweights, I think they dropped the ball on that. With 185, I'm not even really sure I understand what exactly happened. I saw Kelvin walking around with the belt, but
yeah.
I don't really think that means anything. And, I mean, I really like Kelvin. I really like Robert Whittaker. It was a huge bummer that fight ended up not happening, but
sure.
The way that whole thing went down was just confusing to me, and I don't know. I really don't know. And at this point, I don't know what I expected because it's been like this for 3-4 years now. It's just I really that's all I have to say about it. Just as a fan, I really don't know what I expected. Other than total chaos.
Yeah, it's unpredictable. And kind of on that note, and I think that's what makes you so unique is I feel everybody sees Conor McGregor making the big payday. If you talk a lot of trash, you probably can talk your way into some big fights. But here you are saying, I'm not here trying to make any bold predictions. I'm here to do my job, and that's it. And what used to be the majority has now become the minority, such as yourself, someone who's just humble and focused on the task at hand. So I think that's what separates you from a lot of other people now. People like you, like Stipe, George St. Pierre, just very humble, do your job. And now it seems like a lot of people, like you said, are just talking trash for that big fight.
Yeah, well, whatever puts food in the fridge, right?
Yep, that's true. That is true. Steven, thank you so much. Dave, you got something?
No, I was just my last kind of question for you. I see a lot of pictures of you at the Hard Knocks 365. Just wanted to know, I love hearing about the gyms. We visit a lot of gyms around Central Florida. We go down south. We go to the Panhandle. I would just love your, 2 cents. What makes Hard Knocks 365 special?
We somehow, it feels like, kind of like how I was saying, in some situations you look at it, you don't realize day to day how things change, but you take a look back, you're like, man, that's totally better. I would say that like the progression for me has kind of been a parallel to the progression as a gym in that we find a way to consistently hold on to the things that are positive and push out the things that don't work. And, that's not really so much a part of it's not on the athletes as much as it is probably, as it is on the coaches and the people behind the scenes, really doing a good job of holding ourselves accountable, holding each other accountable, the coaches holding the athletes accountable, and a little bit, vice versa too. But, we, like I said, we're consistent, and somehow we've, grateful to say that we've really found a way to hold on to the things that are productive and inspire growth and motivate each other. And we've, just over the years, just even in the short time that I've been here, noticed that we've pushed out the things that, were cancerous or, inhibiting our growth. So I don't know. That's really all to say about it. I'm just very grateful for the situation we have.
That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Really cool, man.
Where can people follow you? Instagram, Facebook, Twitter? Please promote any sponsors, plugs, anything you want. The floor is yours.
First, I'd like to say thanks to all my coaches and training partners. You can find me on Instagram at Tall Steve Fights People. You can follow me on Twitter at Tall Steve MMA. Shouts to all my sponsors. Shouts to Sunshine Farms. Shout to Thrasher Hemp Shoes. Shout outs to the 86ers. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for all the people helping me out. So I really can't say enough how grateful I am for everybody. So look forward to a good fight on Friday, and I promise you, I'm gonna keep up the good performances.
Hell yeah, man, Steven, dude, big luck to you. Big skill in the octagon. I can't wait. We're so excited. Friday night, Paramount. The main card starts around 9. I bet you your fight's around 7:30, 7:20. It should be on the main card, but that's my 2 cents. Nothing but the best to you, buddy.
Thank you.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Have a good one.
See ya.
We are living the dream. I mean, of course, we're in the locked-in studio. It doesn't matter. You know what, Dave? We're going to do a 24-hour podcast.
Wow.
Kind of breaking news.
We will.
It's going to be in the world record books. You're going to see Dave and I's good hair in the world record book. Locked In will be the name of it. Longest podcast ever. Ever.
Yes.
In the Locked In studio. You guys can come and eat some chips with us, debate with us.
We're going to need people to bring us chips because we're not going to be allowed to leave the studio. There's a bathroom right next door.
Yeah.
No shower, no shave. Do that before we get here. 24 straight hours of sports talk. Maybe we'll have people donate money through PayPal, Patreon, or you can come into the studio, drop a $5 bill. We'll appreciate it.
And we do have some bold takes, so if you want to argue with us, by any means, we have 24 hours. There's nothing holding us back.
We'll have an open mic.
Yeah.
We'll have an open mic.
Open mic, as long as you're not obnoxious, of course, but... Or you can be.
You can't effing cuss on the show, okay?
Yeah. But my whole point to this whole thing was... I almost got sidetracked. With Stephen Mowry, it's absolutely awesome to we're living the dream that we're about to have a 24-hour podcast. We're in the locked-in studio, but we just spoke to a Bellator heavyweight fighter. And we speak to all these fighters, but it doesn't ever get old hearing all these different opinions from all these different fighters and camps. And you had a great question about what makes his gym unique.
Yeah.
And it's
I love going to gyms.
Me too. It's like looking at basketball teams. What makes the Raptors different than the Lakers? What makes the Celtics different than the Wizards? It's every gym, every fighter has a different mentality, a different way of doing things. And there's not a right and there's not a wrong.
Sure.
Because there's success and failures in everything.
Chuck Liddell and Anderson Silva, two totally different fighters, both goats.
Mohawk and a tattoo. Well, they both have tattoos on their head.
Gosh, great point.
Wow. I was going to say one has a tattoo on the head, the other one doesn't.
My last closing point on Stephen Mowry, Max, I think it is, and I might be beating a dead horse, he should not be in the prelims.
No, he's
a superstar, phenom, heavyweight fighter who's undefeated, and Bellator needs their own fighters. And to me, I know right now, I think of Steven, I think of Titan FC for right now, but 2, 3, 4 wins, and is sure if he captures that title, and he will, he's a Bellator guy. So Bellator not putting him on the main card is a disservice to Bellator.
And that's the good thing about doing a podcast, too. It's our opinion. We could say whatever we want. With Bellator, I think that would be a criticism I would have of them. I think they're on the rise. Their stock is higher than ever. Of course, UFC's number one, but Bellator needs to really get behind their younger fighters. Like you said, they have a lot of ex-UFC fighters or older fighters with really big names, really big draws, but they don't have their own superstar. And you see them starting to develop some of them.
MVP.
Yeah, and it's okay, you got great guys like John Fitch and Roy McDonald, but Mowry could be the one that you blossomed first before anybody else.
Agreed.
You should, and he's undefeated.
Yes,
and he's 6'7", so he's someone that stands out. He grabs the people's eyes, polarizing.
Yeah,
he needs to be on the main card. There's no reason. The question should be main event.
Yeah, it was a great point by me, right? I'm not trying to sugar, and he's our guy. I like him a lot, just like his personality. He's been on the show multiple times. I just think, the honest guy's truth. He needs to be on the main card. Scott
Coker, promoter of Bellator. You're always welcome in the Locked In studio to debate. We don't hide this chair or mic from anybody.
Absolutely not. And also, go to fightbananas.com. New content daily, 345. What's next for the fighters from UFC 234? We got 5 questions, interviews with tons of guys. Jose Shorty Torres. A lot of great content on fightbananas.com.
Yes, sir. All right, so let's transition into basketball real quick. Of course, NBA is the first thing you think of basketball, but I'm going to take the route of college basketball. I'm a Duke guy. I've liked Duke even with Jahlil Okafor, but now, of course, Jabari Parker, but now Zion is the guy.
Gosh, I love this kid.
Well, this is the biggest deficit in the second half that Coach K and Duke has ever come back from. 23 points to Louisville, right?
I coach winners.
Yeah.
That was the best.
I was watching the game, and 2 things stood out to me for one. So I've gone on record in saying Zion's obviously the most talented on the team. R.J. Barrett will be a number 1, number 2, number 3 pick. You would assume Zion's 1, so you'd say 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I don't think R.J. Barrett will have the level of success of that of Zion, and I think he'll underachieve based on what people like. I'm not saying he's a bust, but he's not going to be a star.
I think you and I 100% agree on this.
And I know we agree on the next point, but I threw it out there and people were reacting to it. Cam Reddish has a higher ceiling than R.J. Barrett. And when people look at that second half, people are going to see Zion's stats, 27 points, 12 rebounds, extremely efficient, turned it up on the second half. he is college basketball right now. He's the most polarizing figure. He's going to have an impact, whether he gets drafted by your Knicks or he gets drafted by the Hawks, the Suns, you name it, he's going to have an impact.
Okay.
Cam Reddish has star potential. I'm not saying Hall of Fame. I'm not saying he's going to be the face of a franchise, but he has star potential. He took over that game in the second half, and he doesn't have the stats of Zion, but if it wasn't for him hitting these back-to-back threes and being aggressive, they don't win that game. And I feel like everyone's so caught behind the Zion train, and rightly so, and the RJ Barrett train, even though Cam is projected high, he is better than RJ Barrett.
Couldn't agree more. I remember talking about this earlier in the year, kind of when I thought the Knicks would be okay, and I was like, man, Cam Reddish can fall to 5, 6, 7, 8. I would love the Knicks to get him. Guys, it's 2019. I say this. We talk about LeBron and the Lakers all the time, and the summer, and Anthony Davis. I'm like, no, the guy out of every player in the world, not Kevin Durant, not Klay Thompson, Bradley Beal is a 3-point league. You have to guard the wing and then shoot the wing, and that's what Klay does. That's what Cam Reddish does. I just think and I'm a Zion guy. He does, his game reminds me NBA-wise right now of like Giannis. Just overpowering, uber athletic, can dunk the ball, and that's Giannis is the MVP candidate in the East, number 1 seed, but the whole team is playing great coach, everything else. But my point is, I just think Cam Reddish, Max, 3 years of doing the show, I'm a Bradley Beal guy. I think Cam Reddish is a Bradley Beal type of player. Under the radar, can shoot the three, 100%. Play really good defense. John Wall will take he gets all the money and he gets all the fame. Bradley Beal's a better baller, straight up.
No, and I agree. And of course, we're Zion guys, but there's another thing that I think is almost underrated about Zion is people see the 360 dunks, the windmills, the insane blocks, his rebounds. His ball handling is so underrated. Yeah. He's not only quick to be 285 and 6'7" and jump out of the gym, his ball handling is really underrated, his passing is really underrated, and his touch around the rim is incredible because, he could throw it down, but he can finish with his right hand even though he's left-handed, but he just has such a nice, soft touch to it. It's not just, let me go in there and bang as hard as I can. He actually has a good feel, a good basketball IQ. And the last thing I'll say is he has a workable jump shot. Like Ben Simmons is now just took his first 3 ever. Like at least Zion is shooting these threes and he's 2 for 6 or he's 1 for 4. But he's hitting threes. He's not scared to shoot the 3. And his form isn't terrible. So it's with a workable, respectable jump shot, dude, he's averaging 25 points pretty soon.
And I don't want to put him under every just category him. But usually left-hand ballers have a nice stroke. It's
Ginobili.
Chris Bosh, Ginobili, Calbert Chaney back in the day.
Fisher.
It's just, it's just a thing. If you're a lefty, you do have a good stroke. So I think he will get that. We brought up Giannis, so if I can transition a little bit to the NBA, the East guys, the Bucks are awesome. Toronto just added Marc Gasol to the team. They're the 2 seed. I like them a lot too this year. Maybe Rashard Phillips, our guy, loves Kawhi Leonard as MVP. Not in our books. We love what Philly did. You like it. I like it. I love their starting 5. But really the team I want to pigeonhole right now and talk about, you had a really good post about Jason Tatum and the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
And how underachieving they've been so far this whole year.
We called it before the season.
I remember it was just so obvious. And Nick Wright stole my words 7 months ago about everyone's like, guys, they got to the Game 7 Eastern Conference Finals, yes. And they're adding Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
But Terry Rozier you could argue, was playing Kyrie Irving ball in the NBA postseason. And Jaylen Brown was playing Gordon Hayward ball in the postseason. So if you add those, you can't have 9 guys in the court and let them play 80 minutes. There's only 48 minutes. There's 5 spots. And Terry Rozier can, and if you give a guy a rhythm and say, hey, you're playing 35 minutes, so don't worry about it. If you have a bad 4-minute spurt in the first, don't worry, we'll sit you. You're going to play the whole second.
Right.
Rozier knows he's playing 10, 12 minutes. And if he misses an open shot in the corner and doesn't call out a screen, he's out. They pull him. He doesn't play. He doesn't get into a rhythm. it just made common sense. You and I are just the common sense
Gurus.
sports gurus. We just put a light on common sense.
Yeah, because I pulled it up, and that's what I posted on Instagram, and I was like, literally us saying this is the first time Brad Stevens has to deal with a healthy roster with egos. And it's a first world problem, but it's a major problem when you have people and these egos clashing. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals Game 7, so to just put them back on the bench knowing how far they reached, that's going to be an issue. And now to the reports and the rumors saying Jason Tatum wouldn't mind being traded to the Pelicans so he could be a face of the franchise. Do not do it, Jason Tatum. Do not do it.
Just real quick, and I'll let you go on it. Mike Tyson and people that win the lottery, us people that make just middle-class American money, we don't understand. Like, how can you ever go through $8 million or Mike Tyson $100 million? You go through it. You buy Tigers. You Floyd Money has jets to take his luggage.
It's ridiculous.
They run right through it. So it's first world problems. We don't know it until you're in it. And Brad Stevens are like, no, give me every all-star. No, it's not working. So yeah, keep on going with Jason Tatum.
It's Anthony Davis. I'm going to make a prediction here, and you can call me crazy, but I think you'll agree. Anthony Davis, when it's all said and done, will have a better career than Jason Tatum.
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Okay, right? That's 100%. Anthony Davis, as talented as he is, hasn't won with the Pelicans. Mm-hmm. And we just said 100% will have a better career than Jason Tatum.
Awful coach, awful GM.
So what does that say about Jason Tatum? What does that say? Is your priority to get stats in the major contract? Then by all means, go to the Pelicans. But if you want to win...
That is.
It's ridiculous. If you think you're going to win with that franchise, first of all, football guys anyways, the Saints run that town. If Anthony Davis can't win, and he had Boogie Cousins momentarily, what makes you think you're going to win? I don't get it.
I know.
It drives me insane.
There's been so many bad decisions in the NBA by players. With free agency, and even if you kind of think about it, Isaiah Thomas, remember he was bring the Brinks truck back. Mm-hmm. He should have kind of he shouldn't have talked about him being a free agent. And then maybe Boston wouldn't have traded them early because they felt like, hey, we don't want to give you max money, Isaiah. And people get traded. How many players hold out? Even Kawhi, and it was a great spot where Kawhi landed. But what happened if they traded them to the Sacramento Kings? That was even talked about. He got lucky. He's a Raptor. And I don't get the Clippers. I don't get if Kawhi or KD goes to the Clippers. They've never won. And that's why I was so positive about Chris Paul. He's the only guy in 40 years in the NBA to win as a Clipper. So, another player will make that mistake too.
I'll save this for another day about Russell Westbrook and how his numbers have gone down. But he is averaging a triple-double. Paul George is the best player on the team.
OKC, number 2.
Paul George is looking like an MVP candidate.
Gosh, he's balling.
Yeah, and a lot of people said that he should be MVP. And when I put up the poll, and I had a LeBron James post, and I said my comparison was if Jeff Bezos left Amazon and the sales plummeted, you'd say he's valued to that company. And it's the same thing with LeBron. He's clearly valuable to that company because we're saying they're not making the playoffs. To now, at least if they don't make the playoffs, it's a disappointment. But before it's expected they don't make the playoffs, that's valuable. But that's why I always say we should rename the award. And people actually, I think, are starting to get on it because best season, I'm 100%, is James Harden. It's Paul George. It's Giannis.
Yeah.
I just don't think they're more valuable. But here's my first criticism of LeBron James is today.
Here we go, guys. Wait. Breaking
I have a criticism. And we've said it so many times off air, and I'm starting to hear people say it now, so I just want to reiterate that we said it first type of thing. We talked about it. He makes more money off the court. If LeBron James is so worried about getting teammates and winning championships, dude, take a pay cut.
Yeah, $10 million.
You have $1 billion lifetime supply with Nike. So just if you didn't do anything for the rest of your life and sat there, ate potato chips, watching movies, you're a billionaire. You have your Nike endorsements on top of that, your extra activities, the shop, the movies. I mean, I don't even have to go into detail on every other, his pizza chain, everything. You're taking about $36 million. It's going to keep increasing. So you have a max contract. If you took $8 million, you're telling me you can't grab maybe 2 free agents instead of just 1, maybe 3. It's really bothering me now because if he's all about winning, which I know he is, he wants to win championships, and he's all about the player empowerment.
Tom Brady took less.
Yeah, it's all about the player empowerment. Like, that's what he's almost symbolism for. Like, don't let the owners dictate where you go. Stand up for yourself and be mobile. And we're all for player mobility.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know the union is very, like, pro-player. Take as much money as you can. Don't let these owners, like, trade you away. If you get injured, you don't have a lot of money. So I get it. Take care of your family first. Make sure you have generational wealth. I get it. But once you have generational wealth, you've made so much money already.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he take a pay cut?
Max, I 100% agree. And I love LeBron James. He's your first love. Maybe. He's my favorite basketball player of all time. But we had a great, heated, brilliant debate 3 months ago. And this was my point was, I even, to a certain extent, agree with the MVP, the valuable.
Yeah.
But my point, I remember we were saying names. He's not the best player in the world anymore. He's probably still the most valuable player in the world. Just day in and day out, the whole year, Paul George has played better than LeBron this year. Not all time.
Better season.
Yeah. Giannis has been better. He plays more, affects his team more. They're the 1 seed in the East, and the rest of the roster. Guys, the Bucks, Middleton, Lopez,
Bledsoe,
Brogdon. That's pretty close to Kuzma, Ingram, Rondo.
Especially when Kuzma's hot
and ball. Like, it's close. I would probably take the Milwaukee guy, a little bit more veterans,
but not by a lot.
Yeah, not by a lot. And one team's got 40 wins, and one team's got 27. So it's a big difference. And that was my number one thing. He's the value, 100%. Guys, they were the 3-4 seed. He got hurt, and they just haven't gotten the rhythm back. But day in, day out, he's just not the best player in the world. Tom Brady's probably the most valuable quarterback. He's just not the best anymore. They won the Super Bowl, but Patrick Mahomes is right now better than Tom Brady.
And I would go with that. Like, I would still take LeBron over anybody right now.
Yeah.
But I get he doesn't have to clock in every day. He's in year 16.
Yeah.
But like, I want people to know, of course, I love LeBron James. Like, I'm a LeBron guy. We're LeBron guys. And I feel like I have to defend him so much because he's such a huge target. He's under a microscope, everything he does. So I'm always on the defensive side of defending him. But I am going to be critical when I see things. I think he's been very lethargic. I don't like his body language. And I get it. There's a lot of turmoil right now, a lot of drama. But that's when leadership matters most. And that's when his role is really defined, and not times of when things are great, but when times are hard and people are down and people are upset and these young guys are upset with all these trades. That's when you're really supposed to worry about picking your guys up. And I like that loss to the Hawks. His body language was awful. It was awful. And I'll be critical of him here. Take less money. And I don't think his body language has been the best.
The New York Knicks just lost their 18th straight game. They are 2 games ahead on being the worst team in the league. Zion Williamson lottery ticket gets bigger, brighter, more special.
Another off script. And I don't know how much more we have planned here. But thank you guys for tuning in, Locked In with 2 N's. Download and subscribe. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a family member, tell a stranger. They need to fix something with the NBA. Like, the NFL is always adapting and always evolving, and that's why they're the number one brand. The number one show on TV.
Yeah.
I think in order the NBA to catch, not necessarily, I don't think they'll maybe ever overthrow the NFL, but in order for them to keep growing and going up, they have to change the stock of, teams tanking.
Real quick, kind of before you get really into it, it was funny. I heard a stat today. You said the number one sport, right? Number one television sport. Out of the top 100 things on TV, Walking Dead season finale, Game of Thrones, House of Donald Trump's House of Address thing, right? 100 everything on TV. 91 out of the top 100 was NFL games.
Exactly.
So not even playoff game, like literally week 5, Cowboys, Eagles made the list. It's incredible, Max.
Because there's so much parity. You don't know who's going to win week in and week out. And the playoffs is just, you can't miss it. There's just, you don't know what's going to happen. And the NBA is a little bit more predictable. If you have more stars, you're going to win. So one, I think they should limit the regular season, which we've talked about in our commissioner episode. But secondly, I think we need to bring up our draft idea because it's been a while since we talked about it. I think tanking is really becoming an issue in the NBA. Like, I really do. And I know they've limited, and we've talked about this in our long car rides, like we talked about earlier, going everywhere. But I think tanking is a serious issue. Like, I really do, because now the Suns are tanking, the Hawks are tanking, the Knicks are tanking. Every bad team that doesn't really have a shot are tanking.
The Pelicans are tanking.
The Pelicans are tanking.
They don't want to win anymore.
Yet they're sitting out a star. They're tanking. Like, you have a lot of teams tanking. That's not good business. Like, that's not good product. Like, I'm not going to, of course, I'm a diehard NBA fan, so they can get away with anything. But like, for the general public, they're not going, this isn't the best. Like, I think our draft idea where the players choose where they go is the absolute solution. Like, we need to get Adam Silver in here, like, locked in.
Because it would show people, like a team like Dallas, Zion could be like, wow, Mark Cuban, a great owner, tons of money. They got Luka. They got Porzingis. They got, like, it's a good organization. They know they can win championships when the right pieces fall. A really great coach, Rick Carlisle. Yeah, I can go there, start at the 3, play all-star level ball, and we could be a championship contender. Like, everyone's not going to say Golden State or Milwaukee, because people will be like, guys, I don't want to play and, back up Chris Middleton. Or it's such a great idea, and all the time. Couple years ago, Markelle Fultz said, hey, he's the first pick. He could go, I want to play for this team. And then he busted. So we're Zion guys. We're Cam Reddish guys. But you never know until they play in the league multiple years and put up tons of stats for a winning organization. You just never know.
So you're telling me that this guy right here is supposed to go to a bad franchise that he can't choose?
Coach K was talking to you about in the huddles to keep you believing.
He said he don't coach losers. He want to coach winners. He said go out there, play hard. He can coach us to a win.
Zion. Gosh.
So my whole point is, you have a guy like that.
That gives me chills, cuzzo.
I know. So you have a guy like that who wants to win, and he's supposed to go to a franchise who literally lost. Like, that was their thing, is losing.
Yeah, New York is breaking records of losing. Like, the Knicks have been bad. They've never been this bad. It's obvious. They know Zion is a franchise player. We got 2 max deal openings. It's a dream. They could get Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and Zion Williamson and be the best team in the East with Kevin Knox, Emmanuel Mudiay, Dennis Smith Jr. They have great, solid players around them. 1 year, 1 summer, if the balls bounces and 2 names make that deal in New York, gold. They're set up for 7 years of championship level basketball.
It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. That is what we call a locked in episode, ladies and gentlemen. Stephen Mowry, one of the best up and coming fighters in the business. Bellator. Make sure you give him a follow. Check him out. We talked NFL, college football, basketball, college basketball, Volusia Mall, Daytona 500.
No lacrosse on this, guys. No lacrosse this episode. Didn't make the cut.
And then we talked about setting a world record with the 24-hour podcast. This could be the best episode.
Wow. I love it. Every episode is the best episode. But where you get that is Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, at David Van Auken, at Max Van Auken. Guys, we're locked in always and forever. And like always, stay locked in.